Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town rebel, Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans, from a diehard Houston sports fan. Of course, I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster, and feel free to add as many additional qualifiers to that statement to make it true. I am an entertainer, creative multi-hyphenate, but most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. They named TC Jester after me. I'm that Jester. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in Los Angeles, and now, well, I'm podcasting. That's because we all have podcasts in LA. It's the law. You have to have a podcast or be polyamorous, I guess. Good day, mates, and bienvenidos to new listeners. This is a comedy/Houston sports show. We try not to get too emotional or hot takey or ridiculous sports guy on here. We try to remember we've elected to be sports fans and enjoy this life, but good Lord, it has been a tough week for Astros fans. We'll get to more of that later. On today's episode, we're talking Rockets. It is time for playoff basketball. We're trying to lead with the positive here. We'll talk about the Rockets going up against the Lakers in a 7-game series. And of course, look, you got to take your medicine. We are also going to talk Astros. We're going to talk about what's been going on with them. But before we do that, I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers. They're both Milford men. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Arrested Development fans. And shout out to all the subscribers on the Substack. You could be one too if you check out spacecadetsports.substack.com and get the full blog experience. Or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my mumbles here. As always, we're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, the Ross to my Frasier. Carla the dog is here with me. Listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. And welcome to our new producer, baby Katarina. She is officially, as of today, 2 months old. She's also allowed to chime in whenever she wants. Our slogan this season is "We listen to women" on this podcast. Let's get to it. Vamos. Folks, let's start with the good. Your Houston Rockets finished the season pretty strong, I would say. Look, they didn't go on a insanely aggressive winning streak. I believe since we talked, I'm trying to remember. Look, we talked on Easter. Or before Easter, then I had to take some time off. I wanted to enjoy the holiday, of course. Then I have a 2-month-old, okay? And I had some family business to attend to. Everything's going well. But I apologize for taking some time off here. I'm trying to remember where we left off, but the Rockets beat Phoenix. They beat Philadelphia. They lost a game to the Timberwolves. That was a tough one. Losing 132 to 136. They finished the season off strong. They rested most of their starters and still beat Memphis, which, it's not like Memphis was, playing at all cylinders themselves, but they beat them 132 to 101. Clint Capella hit a three, his first three of his career. Clint Capella out there draining threes. He had himself a game. But, the season ended fairly strong. It did not end on the crazy, bold winning streak that most fans were hoping for. Some fans were expecting. Minnesota's a good team. The Rockets have struggled against Minnesota. Look, let's see here. In that game against Minnesota, it was a bit of a tough watch towards the end. which is troubling. Which is definitely troubling. I think in that fourth quarter in the Minnesota game, I had to pull up the stats there. Minnesota finished strong with 33 points in the fourth, and the Rockets had their worst quarter with only mustering 26 points in that game. Amen Thompson did have 41 points, had himself a game. I believe he also had 9 rebounds in that game. But fact of the matter is, that game was a little troubling. You do worry a little bit about this team in the fourth quarter at times. They have been getting more and more consistent. Head coach Ime Udoka has shown that he's willing to mix up the lineups, willing to sub people in and out to get the best players on the floor. Sometimes, I've said it in the past, sometimes I think he pulls Şengün out very quickly. I mean, look, there's times, I get it. You're trying to make a point about what type of team the Rockets are supposed to be, and if Şengün goes against that philosophy, you're making a statement by pulling him. But in the playoffs, there's going to be some times that we need Şengün in there. There's also a lot of pulling Reed out, I should say, in the fourth quarter. Aaron Holiday's your more 3-and-D guy. I understand doing that from an offensive perspective. But there's times we'll have to see if he goes more for offense or more for defense in the playoffs. There's still a lot of questions circling this team, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. Let's see, look, my notes are all over the place. At the end of the day, the Houston Rockets have the same record as they did last season. And to some fans, this is a little frustrating. To others like me, I think it's actually positive when you look at the fact that they didn't have Fred VanVleet all season long. They lost Steven Adams in the season, which are two huge blows. Fred VanVleet, I mean, he was supposed to be the point guard for this team. If Fred was healthy this season, I honestly think this team would have competed in that first tier of team in the Western Conference with the Oklahoma City Thunders and the San Antonio Spurs if they were fully healthy. And then losing Steven Adams, you're losing that screen setter, you're losing that rebounder, that kind of gritty guy. With Dylan Brooks being traded away, Steven Adams was kind of our hustle guy, our gritty leader, if you will. So without those two players, honestly, I think that was a fairly solid season. It's hard to pin it all on one thing. If you've been listening to the podcast, I've been saying I'm not really choosing a side at the end of the day as to where the blame game goes. If I had to choose one, I think head coach Ime Udoka at times has been super stubborn or shown unwillingness to change certain things. So if anything, he maybe is like 40% to blame, and maybe Raphael Stone is more like 30% to blame, and at times the roster, depending on who is struggling, is that other 30. But I don't blame KD as much as a lot of fans have. And look, I'm not a KD stan that's followed him around his whole career and defends him. I'm not a KD burner. This isn't KD running his voice through some kind of voice disguiser app. I don't know, but I'm just saying I don't think he has irked me quite the same way that he's irked other players. Now that burner kind of drama that happened around the All-Star break, that didn't help. But we knew what KD was when we got him. He's definitely very willing to say how he feels on the internet. So I don't even know if that burner drama is accurate, if that was KD. Either way, it did contribute to a little bit of a circus. It did contribute to some weird locker room vibes for a bit, but I don't blame that completely on him. I think GM Raphael Stone, there's some more blame for him because this roster at times just didn't look completely put together to compete. I mean, it looked like they were trying to develop players this season, and they did a good job of that. They developed Amen Thompson. He looks a whole lot better. They developed Reed Shepherd. But did they give them enough time to develop them to players that are going to be able to contribute to a successful playoff run? Time will tell. We'll have to see. So I guess what I'm saying here, how are you feeling out there, Rockets fans? How are you feeling, H-Town? Are you like me? Is Ime getting a majority of the blame for you, or perhaps you're in your feelings a little bit more than me? That blame gets thrown around a little bit more. I guess it comes down to, what are your expectations? What were your expectations for this team? We knew Fred VanVleet wasn't going to be part of it early on. So where did you expect them to lie? Because honestly, I think in 5th place in the Western Conference is around about the place I thought they were going to finish. So my expectations are almost met. I wish that there was more development for these guards, but also I was pretty realistic about the fact that developing them in season might take a little more time than we'd expect, and maybe there needed to be a trade for somebody. I just don't think that there was anybody that we could trade for that Raphael Stone felt comfortable giving up assets for, and kind of blowing the squad up a bit. So, I don't fully blame him for not trading somebody, I should say. But it would have been nice. Wouldn't it be nice, as the Beach Boys said? Look, the Rockets have a series coming up against the Lakers. So let's briefly talk about them. And the big news with the Lakers is Luka Doncic. Luka has been injured. He's questionable. We don't know exactly his status. He is coming to Los Angeles after getting some injections in Europe and will be evaluated for a first-round return. But yikes. For his sake, I hope not. But there is a potential that Luka Doncic and some version of Luka will play in the first round against the Rockets. The Lakers are a little battered without Luka Doncic, without Austin Reeves. So if those two guys are not playing for the Lakers, that's good news for Rockets fans. I feel a whole lot better about that series if they don't have those two players. But if Luka is there and actually functioning, I'm a little worried about that. But I just don't know what kind of magical treatments they have over there in Europe. The American healthcare system is a mess. So I don't know what type of magic they're doing over there. So I just don't know. I'm hesitant if Luka is actually coming back. I think that's kind of wishful thinking for Lakers fans. But everybody out here in LA is feeling like he'll be back at some point in this first round. I truthfully don't know. I think it's a little wishful thinking, but you never know. Look, this is a huge if. I'm not trying to count my chickens before they hatch, even against an injured Lakers team that still has LeBron on it, by the way. If they can advance, the second round would most likely be against Oklahoma City. Because unless Oklahoma City gets upset by the play-in team. So, there is that this bracket does look tough. It does look like there's going to be... There's going to be some tough teams out there for the Rockets to have to face off against. Tonight, the play-in games start. The Heat play the Hornet. The Heat play the Hornet. Yeah, sure. That makes sense, Paul. The Heat plays the Hornets. The Trailblazers play the Suns. Sorry, not the... Look, my pluralization game is a little weak right now. I apologize. I've had some time off. Tomorrow, as of the recording of this podcast on Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday, the Magic will play the 76ers and the Warriors will play the Clippers. So we'll watch those games with great interest. And the first game for the Rocket series is going to be on Saturday. So we're looking out for that. We're very excited. Let me know what you think, fam. How are you expecting this series to go? Honestly, I feel that if the injury status does not change for these players, I'm saying Rockets in 6. It's easy to discount the Lakers with this many injuries, but I think LeBron's going to show up. I think the Rockets they have trouble sometimes in the fourth quarter. I think they're going to really have to figure out this offense, figure themselves out, and build some character in this series. But if nothing changes, I really think Rockets in 6. Let me know what you think, H-Town. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk some Rockets, to talk some Comets, and a little bit of Houston Texans news. We'll be right back.
H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm Paul Salazar Jr. And folks, if you want to leave us a voicemail, let us know how you're feeling. You could reach out to us on SpeakPipe, that's speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports, or reach out on Instagram at Space Cadet Sports, and let us know how you're feeling. But speaking of feelings, it has been a rough go for your Houston Astros. And look, I'll be honest with you, I'll blame myself, okay? I abandoned you in your time of need, like the Avatar. Not the James Cameron Avatar, the anime Avatar, for those of you. Look, if you don't know Avatar, go educate yourselves, okay? Don't make me educate you. It's not my job to educate you on good cartoons. But look, at the end of the day, I didn't mean to abandon you in your time of need. It's been a rough road trip for your Houston Astros. And right now, the Astros are 6-11. Oof, 6-11. And look, don't go online. Look, there's many things right now that are just going to straight up bum you out. Online. A blockade of a blockade is happening. AI is doing weird things. And the Astros have the worst, if not one of the worst, records in the league right now. I have not checked any updated standings since this morning. But being 6-11 is no bueno. But I will say, cálmate. I hit you with a cálmate, okay? For those of you who don't speak Spanish, cálmate loosely translates to calm down, my clown. Even though they're 6-11, it's still April, folks. They're 3.5 games back from the division lead right now. The season is not over. So calm down, cálmate, relax, breathe. The Astros are notorious slow starters. This isn't good. For sure, getting swept by losing a series against the A's, getting swept by the Rockies, and then getting swept by the Mariners is not good. I'm not going to sit here, even though I'm positive. I say we should think positively about these things. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Okay, there is time for radical acceptance in this life. Shout out to therapy. There's time for radical acceptance. And right now, this team is not playing very good. It is tough. It was a rocky series. See what I did there? In Colorado, they got swept by one of the worst teams in the league. But I'm not going to sit here and disparage the Astros too much, because Carlos Correa is doing enough of that for me. Look, earmuffs, kids. Carlos Correa is not blaming injuries. He says the Astros are playing like shit. Okay, you can take the earmuffs off the kids now. And, on some levels, he's right. I think this club is playing bad baseball right now. And that's not just me saying it. The quote going around is we're a good club playing bad baseball. And I think that's where it stands right now. I can sit here. A lot of times I'll do recaps. I'll recap the series, recapping the Rockies series and recapping the the Mariners series. It's just too much pain for all of us to deal with. It's been rough. And speaking of pain, there has been a lot of injuries. 5 players getting injured or not starting in the road trip here, starting with Hunter Brown. Diesel has been diagnosed with a grade 2 right shoulder strain, and his return, you better get used to this, is TBD, a to-be-determined return for Hunter Brown. But most likely that's going to be a couple of months, and that doesn't feel good. Hunter Brown is our ace. We are very much depending on him to solidify a starting rotation that had some question marks in it, and more on that in a bit. But Hunter Brown being out for an extended amount of time is not good. There's no really good way to spin it. If there's any kind of good way to spin it, it's that maybe he won't have a statistically dominant season as he did last year, and we'll be able to renegotiate a little better for him. But there's no, we wish Hunter the best. Pitching injuries have really gotten out of control in Major League Baseball. So seeing this is sad. We're hoping that he gets back quickly, and we're hoping that there's no huge damage there that needs more time out. JP3, Jeremy Pena, was pulled out of a game in Seattle with a grade 1 right hammy strain. So he's also got a to-be-determined return. Jeremy Pena started off the season injured. They were easing him back into the lineup, much to the chagrin of some Astros fans. And then he ends up getting injured. It's just a bummer. We do have an infield, a lot of infielders on is what I'm trying to say on this roster. A lot of fans were worried about how are we going to find playing time for Isaac Paredes. Will we be able to start Christian Walker? And now we don't have to worry about those things. Christian Walker's actually having himself a good start of the season, and with Jeremy Pena out for a to-be-determined amount of time, that really opens up some space for Isaac Paredes. Also in the infield, Carlos Correa has been battling injury. He got sick. He's missed some games. So that made space for Nick Allen to get some starts. You could check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for an article I wrote on Nick Allen. If you don't know who he is, if you're unfamiliar with his game, I wrote a little piece about him. You could check that out. But that definitely made things a little bit tougher, not having Jeremy Pena, not having Carlos Correa. All of a sudden, this team that we thought was going to have 1 million infielders and we'd never figure out a way for all of them to play, all of a sudden, Nick Allen is starting more games than he probably was thinking he was going to get to start. So no offense to Nick Allen there. He's a defensive specialist. He looks good. I like him on the squad, but we just weren't anticipating him to start this many games out the gate, that's for sure. Other injuries of note are pitchers. Last season, the Houston Astros used, I believe, 15 different starting pitchers in the season, with the loss of Framber Valdez, who easily could eat up about 200 innings a season. We were worried on this podcast of how the Astros were going to be able to replace Framber Valdez's just usage, just being able to take that many innings on as a workhorse. So we were happy to see GM Dana Brown focus on getting some pitching, and now we're very glad that he did, because it isn't just Hunter Brown. Christian Javier has gone down with a grade 2 right shoulder strain, and his return is also, guessed it, to be determined. Christian Javier, we love him. We're definitely rooting for his return. Right now, he kind of is dealing, he looks kind of the way that Lance McCullers Jr. looked last season coming back from injury. The type of pitcher that Lance McCullers Jr. was, he was dependent on certain things, and when he came back, he just did not look the same. He was not able to throw strikes, and that definitely limited his effectiveness, and hitters were just able to sit on certain pitches and absolutely clobber him. That's where Christian Javier was. He was struggling to locate. He was struggling with his command. His fastball lost a little velocity. He was struggling to work that invisible, if you will. And now, after his last start getting pulled early and being diagnosed with the shoulder strain, I'm concerned that we might not see Christian Javier for a while. He did not look very effective. Even for Christian Javier, who normally is very stoic, there were some moments where you could just tell he was kind of trying to figure out what was happening and how he could be more effective. So we're hoping he can return. We're hoping he can get healthy, and we're hoping that he can return to be effective and help this team win some games. But right now, I do anticipate that Christian Javier might be gone for a longer time than many of the other players on this injury list. The other player that got injured, well, there's Carla. She definitely agrees. I think that's her agreeing with me that this might be some time for Christian Javier. The other pitcher, oh, it's okay, Carla, was Tatsuya Imai, who's kind of had a bit of a roller coaster of a season so far. He's had some ups, he's had some downs. He got taken out of a game with right arm fatigue against the Mariners. So that's, honestly, I think that is something that we could be optimistic about in terms of Tatsuya Imai coming back to the starting rotation. There's no shoulder strain. There's no official diagnosis. I know a lot of Astros fans with PTSD will say, well, we don't know, and there could be a secondary round of imaging, and maybe he's more injured than we think, and they shake their fists to the heavens like Grandpa Simpson at the Astros medical staff. And look, they make mistakes, of course. All medical staffs are going to make mistakes, I should say. But I think this really looked like, look, this is a guy in the NPB where he came from in Japan. They do a 6-man rotation. The mound is a little shorter. The ball has a little bit more grip on it. Tatsuya Imai is adjusting to this league. So I think he can bounce back and he can find command of his fastball. It's just going to take a little bit more time. And right now we were hoping that we can kind of give him time to adjust to Major League Baseball. But with all these injuries, it's really put the spotlight on him. It's really made us what made us as fans and the team hope that he can eat more innings. And that first inning in Seattle just spiraled out of control. He was throwing way too many pitches, and he needs to take some time off. I think he's probably going to skip a start, hopefully just one start, and will be back. And speaking of will be back, folks, I got to take another break. I couldn't even get through all the injuries. We're going to take a quick break. I'll be back with some more injuries, and we'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly with the Houston Astros on the other side of this break.
H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your boy, Paul Salazar Jr. And folks, there's real quick, there's a viral video that's been going around of a poor man who was diving for a foul ball and lost his pants. Just booty cheeks everywhere. And I feel bad for this guy. I'm not even sure if he got the foul ball. But I posted this to my Astros group chat and was like, I guess, would you show them cheeks for a foul ball? Would that be a fair trade-off? Would you be okay with that being a meme if it meant you got a foul ball? Let me know in the comments. How many cheeks would you show for a foul ball? But look, guys, we got to have some kind of fun here. It has been rough for Astros fans, so let's get back to our injuries. We were talking about Tatsuya Imai. We're optimistic that Imai can come back. But his effectiveness as he comes back will definitely be dependent on how he's adjusting to Major League Baseball. He obviously has shown that he has his stuff. We just need to see him find some consistency. And that can go for all Astros pitchers. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's continue talking about injuries. Jake the Rake, he was taking a couple of swings and just kind of grabbed at his side. I was telling my wife that, my poor wife, she watches more Astros games than you. Let's just be honest. But we were watching the game, and I was like, I think that was an oblique. He was diagnosed with a back strain. It turns out it was an oblique strain, a grade 2 right oblique strain, and he's returning TBD. Shout out to Arrested Development fans. If you want to do a fundraiser for TBD, we might have to set that up, do a real a Funke style fundraiser for TBD, because there's a lot of it going around here on the Astros IL. This has made some room, though, for these young outfielders to get some play. Joey Loperfido has definitely gotten more play. He's been effective. And Taylor Trammell was called up from AAA. He's definitely shown some flashes. Kind of was surprised that he didn't start the season off on the roster because he's more of a veteran. But he looks like he's getting more play right now than Bryce Matthews, so we'll keep an eye on that. But Jake the Rake is definitely going to be out for some time, making some opportunity for these other outfielders with the Astros. The last injury that we have to talk about is Cody Bolton, a.k.a. Sixlets, because he looks like a knockoff Eminem. And I say that with all the love in my heart. Look, I look like a knockoff Lin-Manuel Miranda, or maybe Oscar Isaacs if he's having a rough day. So look, it's okay. I'm a doppelganger. But look, Cody Bolton sadly left the game early during his start. It looked like he was going to be able to fill in for a 6-man rotation there. He got himself a little bit of an opportunity. We talked about how he has a bit of a violent throw from the mound, and he is prone to injury, and sadly, he is injured. He's not on the IL. There's no official diagnosis that I saw from Cody Bolton, at least on the MLB app where I check that. So if you know, definitely let us know. But it does look like he'll be out for some time, and we'll see if Cody Bolton will be able to come back, and if he's going to be like a mop-up guy in the pen, or if they're looking for him to be stretched out and be a starter, because we need some starters. But yeah, if we're looking at it, they're definitely, for our rotation going forward right now, it's Mike Burrows, who's all of a sudden become the ace. We have Lance McCullers, and then some question marks. Is Tatsuya Imai going to be able to come back? JP France was called up, but it looks like he's got the mop-up role. Is it going to be Ryan Weiss? Are we calling up Jason Alexander? Is Kaiwei Tang going to be able to maybe open some games or get stretched out? Or perhaps is Spencer Arrighetti going to be able to be called up from paternity leave? In the meantime, they did call up Colton Gordon, who started some games for the Astros last year and will probably be in the back end of the rotation going forward. If we're continuing to look at who might be called up, there's also Miguel Uyola. Oh, goodness. Look, guys, I took some time off, and I definitely wasn't working on my pronunciation. But with that being said, folks, it definitely, it's tough times for Rockets pitching, or for Astros pitching. It's tough time for Rockets pitching, too. The only Rockets pitcher there was maybe Tracy McGrady for the Sugarland Skeeters way back in the day. But this team, honestly, is struggling right now. So let's really quickly look at the good, bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. Hitting. believe it or not, Houston Astros are hitting. They are first in runs with 95. They're second in hits with 159. First in doubles. They're fifth in home runs. Third in RBIs. Second in walks. You know, their average. They're third in average, second in on base percentage, and third in slugging. Not too shabby. Not too shabby, especially since we were kind of looking at this lineup and seeing, or kind of asking ourselves, how is that Houston Astros offense going to do? How are they going to bounce back from a tough season last season that definitely was more offensively challenged than a lot of fans wanted? But it looks like their new philosophy is working. You know, I'm not going to say it's working perfectly, but it is working. And Yordan Alvarez, good Lord, this guy is playing out of his mind. He has 6 home runs on the season. He is batting .321 with a .487 OPB and a .714 slugging percentage. There's been talks of this guy. Obviously, he has MVP type toolkit, but he might be in the running for MVP votes. We love Yordan Alvarez here. We need him to stay healthy. For the love of God, we need all Astros to stay healthy right now. But he is part of what is good with this team right now. You could also throw in Jose Altuve and Christian Walker, just playing really well. And Cam Smith is looking incredible. The aircraft carrier is playing great baseball. And honestly, lock him up. Lock him up. No, I mean, get him on maybe we extend Cam Smith before the CBA changes. I don't know if that's something that Jim Crane is interested in doing, but I mean, come on, Jim Crane. We need. It would be nice to not just see Astros player after Astros player after Astros player just signing with other teams in free agency. Maybe that's something we do before he starts having statistically incredible seasons. Well, Carla's got some things to say. I think she is agreeing with me. Let's get Cam Smith signed. Let's get really quickly to the bad and, sadly, the ugly. The bad for this Astros team is mental lapses. There's just been inconsistent defense. The team is not hitting that great with runners in scoring position. It's not bad. They're still scoring a lot of runs. I mean, their offense is doing a lot better than it was last season in run scoring, but they're just not scoring enough runs in some of these big run games to win. So we're looking for just one more hit with runners in scoring position, and this team might be on the top of the AL West. You know, not like just one for the whole road trip, but just one extra hit with runners in scoring position per game would definitely increase the win-loss record. Now, that's not to say that is the biggest problem with this team. This is just kind of the bad. So let's get to the ugly. Let's get to the bad. Let's get to the things that are definitely costing this team to be in the bottom of the AL West right now. I mean, I should have said earmuffs first before I said that. Earmuffs, they're at the bottom of the AL West. The ugly thing is obviously starting pitching. During this road trip, I mean, it seemed like it was an impossibility for a Houston Astros starting pitcher to get out of the first inning. There was only a handful amount of times that the Houston Astros pitcher got out of the 5th inning. I said Mike Burrows was going to be our inning eater this season. I didn't know that was going to be so true so quickly with the guy just getting into the 6th inning sometimes. We need our starting pitchers to, one, stay healthy. It's tough to see so many starting pitchers get injured and go out of the starting rotation and going on the IL. But we also need those starting pitchers to throw more competitive pitches. Throwing strikes, yes, we need the pitchers to throw strikes. That is paramount to success. But if you don't have the stuff to get whiffs, on some of those strikes, then you need to get these batters to chase, which means that, yeah, you're throwing a pitch a little bit off the plate, maybe a little high, maybe you're a little low, but the pitch needs to be competitive so that the batter offers at it. It's not like, the Astros are playing really patient lineups. The A's and the Mariners are not exactly the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers. So to see that these pitchers are not getting competitive stuff and making these lineups look really good is a little alarming. Now, I'm not too worried. Let's pull out the Space Cadet Sports Houston Astros panic meter. It's the official Space Cadet Sports Houston Astros panic meter, I should say. We're not panicking right now. The Houston Astros pitching staff and coaches have been incredible. They work really good game plans with these pitchers. This is just a tough season, a tough start to the season with these pitchers. Me saying this is not saying that I know better than the front office or the staff. This is 100% the things that they're probably preaching to those pitchers right now. Throw some competitive pitches. Throw some strikes. Get ahead of the count. But don't throw strikes that are just going to get absolutely clobbered. We'll see how some of these pitchers bounce back. We'll see how some of these pitchers that are being called up will do in replacing injured pitchers in the starting rotation. But we're watching these starting pitchers right now and hoping that they can get through the fifth inning, hoping that they can give this bullpen a little bit of a break. Because it might be the Houston Astros pitching carousel starting early, where Dana Brown's just going to have to start finding some kind of healthy arm to cobble together some kind of bullpen because everybody's being overtaxed. The other thing here in the ugly is Brian Abreu. It has been a tough start for Brian Abreu. I don't know. I have no clue what this is. If it's actually a physical issue, if it's a bit of a mental issue for the guy, I have no idea. I can't even begin to comprehend what's going on with him. He's really struggling. He did have a good inning against the Mariners, but we're hoping that he can get back to his normal Brian Abreu dominance. But right now, it's gotten so bad that even though I say he has the best stuff to be the closer, even though I say he has the best track record to be the closer until Josh Hader comes back from injury, he's really starting to lose that job. And that's scary because really the other pitchers in our bullpen, even though I like Brian King, I like Steven Okert, I like AJ Blueball, I don't know if those guys have the stuff to close a game for the Houston Astros yet. I really don't. So we need Abreu to get right, and we need those other pitchers to hopefully find some consistency so they can be a bridge to Abreu or potentially replace him on a tough day. King definitely, out of all those names, is the guy that would be most likely to close a game if Abreu continues to struggle. Obviously, the other ugly thing would be the injuries. We just need this team to stay healthy. I don't think this is a training staff issue. The Astros cleaned house, got a completely new training staff. This is just part of Major League Baseball right now. It's not, the Astros aren't the only team dealing with these injuries, but good Lord, please wrap these players in bubble wrap, have them eat healthy foods, take care of themselves so that we have no more injuries because these injuries have been piling up and they are rough. No offense to the replacement players, but we need this team to be completely healthy in order to compete in this division. Getting swept by the Mariners, losing a series to the A's, that's not how you win this division. That's going to make it that much tougher for these Astros to be able to compete in the division if they just completely struggle in these division games. They not only need to win their games, but the priority this season is going to be on those division series because it's going to be a very competitive division this season. Right now, the Texas Rangers are at the top of the division. The A's are looking good. The Angels are looking good. It's going to be a tough battle. They need to win these division series. And the last thing that's ugly is honestly luck. These Astros have been just severely unlucky. Just long, loud pop-outs to the warning track. Lots of just baffling defensive plays. They're going to have to just focus up and solidify. I think that a guy like Carlos Correa in the locker room is really going to help with this. But they need to kind of focus up, and you know, I'm not too worried about it. Not just because Carlos Correa is there, but this is a team with a lot of veterans that have been there and done it before and are not going to panic. So I know a lot of fans are panicking right now. So let's look at once again, the official Space Cadet Sports Houston Astros panic meter. The level it's at right now, it's like a thermometer style. I'll post it on Instagram so you can see it. Right now, it says the reading is, it's just April. We're not panicking. Cálmate. Everything can still turn around for this season. They just have to figure it out and solidify. I have faith. I think you should too. I am not going to worry too much. Look, that's Katerina. So with her calling for me, that means that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, all that jazz. We are a small podcast and we only go as far as our listenership takes us. So please share with the Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you listen. Reach out on social media. Once again, you can call in, check the Substack. If you made it this far, you like me on some kind of level, you can find me on social media at Paul Salazar Jr. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston, and abolish ICE.